we can say with that level of certainty, the way Abu Abdullah al-Hussein said on the day of Ashura, that humiliation can never reach us, it can never touch us, it can never come near us. How do we get ourselves into that band? How do we get ourselves that level of belief that humiliation, it can't come near us? We will never be dishonored nor disrespected, no matter how much the enemy tries. And you see, throughout history, the enemies did try. Throughout history, the enemies of Islam, they would try again and again and again. There were times where they would truly go to the lengths that are unimaginable to try and embarrass, try to ridicule the A'imma, to try and hurt the image of the A'imma of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. But at no point was humiliation, dishonor or disrespect allowed to reach the Ahlul Bayt. At no point was it allowed to reach the Imams. In fact, there are so many tales. The tales of Kufa and Sham, the stories of Kufa and Sham, which on the face of it seem like they should have been moments of dishonor and disrespect, but in history they became the most honored and most respected moments that we see. There are tales of our Imams being locked in cages with hungry lions and hungry animals. Why? So that they would try and escape the lions, so that the lions and the beasts would try and attack the Imams, and out of fear they would run. But what happens? Those same lions would bow their heads down to our Imams. Why? Hayhat min nadillah. They can never be dishonored. They can never be disrespected. But you know what? That isn't only for the Imams. It is for each and every one of us who follows the path of the Imams, who stays true to those principles, who stays true to what the Imams have taught us. You see, hayhat min nadillah, it wasn't just a statement for the Imams, no, it was an instruction for each and every one of us to remove dishonor and disrespect from ourselves, to make sure we stay far from it at every stage of life. But how? We spoke yesterday about the first thing that we need to do. The first and most crucial thing that we need in order to avoid that disrespect and dishonor is to have a firm belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A firm belief in what is true, in what is right. When I have that firm belief, when I have that belief that can't be shaken, then no matter how much the people try to dishonor me, no matter how much they try to humiliate me, no matter how much they try to disrespect me, it won't have the impact on me that the enemy hoped for. It won't have the impact on me that the enemy wished for. Why? Because I have that belief in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told me. I have that belief that this life is not the most important thing. I have that belief in the akhirah. I have that belief that my Mawla will be waiting for me at the pond of Kawthar. I have that firm belief. And when I have that, then there is no one that can dishonor me. No one that can disrespect me. How can that person be disrespected? For who Sayyidah Zahra salamullahi alayha says that she will not enter heaven until they have entered heaven. How can that person be dishonored? For who Amirul Mu'mineen says, I will wait for you at the pond of Kawthar and welcome you with open arms. How can that person be disrespected? For who the Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, for who the Holy Prophet tells us that when we reach heaven, it will be him who recognizes us and him who calls us into heaven. But who is that person? That person is the person who remembers Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the Azadar of Abu Abdullah, but the true Azadar, the true rememberer, the true beloved of Abu Abdullah, and the one who loves Abu Abdullah truly. Who is that? It's not somebody who cries over a sad story. No, it's not somebody who cannot take the true meaning of the Masa'ib and the Fada'il. It's somebody who cries, but they cry when they know what Imam Hussein alayhi salam went through, why he went through it, who he was, what his stance was. Somebody who has what we call ma'rifah, an understanding of what happened in Karbala. That is what makes your tears worthy of salvation. And look at the beauty of these tears. Look at the beauty of these majalis. Maulana in Urdu, for those of you who understand, he recited this yesterday, and I'll repeat what he said. You see those blessings of that remembrance of Abu Abdullah. The word is used often about tears, the value of your tears, the importance of your tears, the importance of crying. But the reality is, everybody mourns in a different way. Everybody expresses their grief and sadness in a different way. Some people will cry out loud, they will wail and they will screech. Some people, they will cry quietly, they won't make any noise. Some people, tears won't flow from their eyes. Some people, they won't be able to get to a point of crying. But we're told in our teachings that for each and every one of those people, they will be considered the same. So long as they feel pain in their hearts over the sorrow of Abu Abdullah, while they have an understanding of who he was, they will receive the blessings that these tears bring us. They will receive the blessings that this sadness and this grief gives us. But you see, it only comes with ma'rifah. When you accept that Husseini flag, when you accept that Husseini pathway, when you set yourself on that path, then you receive those blessings. We spoke yesterday about the importance of having a firm belief in order to make yourself amongst those who can say hayhat min nadillah. Today I want to speak about the second thing, and another thing which is entirely crucial. Without it, you cannot say hayhat min nadillah. Without it, you cannot say that dishonor and disrespect will be far from you. And this is your strength. If you don't have strength, you can't keep dishonor and disrespect away from you. If you don't have strength, you cannot consider yourself to be amongst those who Amir al-Mu'mineen will one day class as his followers, as his close ones, as the ones that he is proud of. Why? Because our Imam was a man of strength. And not just Amir al-Mu'mineen. Our Holy Prophet was a man of strength. Imam Hassan Mujtaba was a man of strength. Lady Zahra was a great lady of strength. They all had strength, great power within them. And it's that power which keeps humiliation and dishonor away from us. If you have that strength within you, then you too can claim to keep that dishonor away. But until you have that, you can never be amongst those who say hayhat min nadillah for yourself. When we look at the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wa salam, there's no question on his strength. There's no question on the strength of Amir al-Mu'mineen in the way he carried himself. In the stories that we hear of him, we see again and again and again the strength of the Lion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We see the strength of Amir al-Mu'mineen. But as I say that, I will mention one point, and I mention it often. If you want to truly understand the strength of Amir al-Mu'mineen, don't look at him in battles. Don't look at everything he did in battle. Look at him when he sat down to eat. When Amir al-Mu'mineen sits down to eat, it's famously narrated, and in history we see it again and again, that oftentimes he would eat hard, stale bread. When bread goes stale, it becomes very hard. And we see that Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he would sit down to eat, what he would do is he would snap the bread over his knees. With his two hands, he would snap the bread over his knees. Somebody asked him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, why do you do this? Why don't you just break it like that? Amir al-Mu'mineen replied, I don't have the strength in my hands to break it like that. He said, I don't feel like I have the strength in my hands to break it just like that, so I hit it against my knees to break this bread. And we think, but this is Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali, for who we hear all of these stories of how great he was in battle, and we'll go through those stories too, we'll look at them as well. But where did that strength go? My Imam, you're the one who leads armies out to battle. My Imam, you're the one who all the enemies of Islam fear. You want to see the strength of Imam Ali alayhi salam? Just consider the fact of the grave of Sayyidah Zahra salamullahi alayha. Recite ala salawat ala Muhammad wa ala. Do you think people in history didn't want to know where the exact grave of Sayyidah Zahra was? To this day, we don't know exactly where this great lady was buried. The daughter of the Holy Prophet, we wish to visit her grave. We ourselves wish to know where her exact burial place is. We believe it may be Jannatul Baqi, but equally it may be very far away from there. We don't know for certain. Why? You think people didn't want to know in the past? You think people didn't try and find out in the past? They wanted to. At the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen, according to one narration, the people of the city of Medina, they wanted to find out where Sayyidah Zahra was buried. So amongst them, they started talking and they started discussing, and they decided, we know where it is that Imam Ali alayhi salam goes every day and cries and sits by these different marks of graves. For those of you who are younger and don't know, after Bibi Fatima Zahra passed away, Imam Ali, because he didn't want people to know where her grave was, he dug a few different graves. According to most narrations, reliable narrations, there are 4 different places that we think Bibi Fatima might be buried. And almost every day, Imam Ali alayhi salam would go to each of those 4 places and he would sit and he would talk and he would cry. The people decided amongst themselves, look, we want to know where Bibi Fatima is buried. It must be one of those 4 places. So what we'll do is we'll go to those places and we'll just start digging. We'll find the body of Sayyidah Zahra in one of them surely. Word reached Amir al-Mu'mineen. He heard that the people are planning to do this. It was the final will of Bibi Fatima al-Zahra, her final wish that the people don't know where she's buried. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen wanted to protect that wish. So what does he do? Imam Ali alayhi salam, who hadn't drawn his sword since the Holy Prophet had passed. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he had tried his best not to draw his Dhul Fiqar. He tried his best not to use that kind of force. But in this moment, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he does something symbolic. He pulls out his sword and he draws a line in the sand. And we see this often. We see it in Karbala as well. Hazrat Abbas did the exact same thing. Amir al-Mu'mineen, here he draws a line in the sand. And he says to the people of Medina, if any single one of you tries to turn up the earth, means tries to start digging, in order to find where the grave of Sayyidah Zahra is, I swear, I Ali swear, I will turn entirety of Medina into a bloodbath. Rivers of blood will flow through this city. Amir al-Mu'mineen said this then. From then till now, nobody, none of the powers that be, have dared even for a moment to try and find the grave of Sayyidah Zahra. They've dug up the graves of companions before. Hazrat Hujr ibn Adi, a great companion, they dug up his grave. But what happened when it came to Sayyidah Zahra? Did they not want to find out where she is buried? Of course they did. But that threat of Mawla Ali, that warning that he gave in that moment, if any one of you tries to find the grave of Zahra, I swear I will have rivers of blood flowing through this city. And from then till now, no one's dared to try and dig for that grave ever again. The same thing happened in Karbala. Before the day of Ashura, on the 9th of Muharram, Imam Hussein alayhi salam's brother and his trusted commander of his army, Hazrat Abul Fadl Abbas, he goes to speak to the armies of Yazid. He goes to speak to them, to say to them, look, the battle of Karbala, initially, it was going to happen on the 9th of Muharram. But Imam Hussein alayhi salam had said to Hazrat Abbas, Abbas, go and ask for one more night. Tell them, don't attack tonight. One more night. Give us one more night. So Hazrat Abbas, he goes to speak to the armies of Yazid. They have a conversation and Hazrat Abbas, he decides he wants to go back and speak to Imam Hussein alayhi salam again. But he knows as soon as he turns his back, the armies of Yazid, they've already said they're going to attack. They've already said they're going to come after Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his family. They've said they're going to start this battle. So what does Hazrat Abbas do? Just like his father in Medina, Hazrat Abbas at this point, what does he do? He draws his sword. He draws a line in the sand. Now remember, we spoke yesterday about the armies of Yazid. For as far as the eye can see, there are rows and rows of soldiers. According to the narration, there are tens of thousands of soldiers in the armies of Yazid. They're all standing there and they're all ready to attack. They've all been told we're going to battle tonight. They've all been told tonight the war will start. But now Hazrat Abbas, he's drawn this line in the sand. He's turned to the armies of Yazid and he said, if any one of you dares to cross this line, then it will be Abbas who comes to meet you. It will be Abbas who comes to fight you. And then what happens? The entirety of the 9th night of Muharram passed. Not a single soldier of Yazid's army crossed that line, except one, who we'll talk about tonight, inshallah. And that soldier, he didn't cross to attack. No, that was Hazrat Hur, who crossed that line only to go and join the camps of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You see, this is what you call strength. When Abul Fadl Abbas stands tall, it doesn't matter that there are tens of thousands of people in front of him. If Abbas says you don't cross this line, then you don't cross that line. If Amir al-Mu'mineen says you don't dig to look for that grave, then you won't dig to look for that grave. It doesn't matter how many of you there are. It doesn't matter whether Amir al-Mu'mineen is present in this world at that time or not. It doesn't matter whether he has already given his life in sajda or not. No, you do not go against their command. That's what you call strength. That's what you call true strength, true power. And look, both of these instances of strength, they came without fighting. Both of these instances of strength, they came without a battle, without a war. Simply the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Abul Fadl Abbas were enough to put fright and fear into the hearts of the enemies, so much so that they didn't dare go against them. And you see, we experience that in our lives too. There are certain people that you will meet in life where they just have something fearsome about them. Something about them that makes you think, I don't want to cross this person. I had a friend like that. When I was in Qum, I had a friend, he was from Russia. And this guy, he had a certain air about him. Something that told you, you don't want to mess with him. And I remember we were sitting one time and we were joking around. And he looked at me and he very quietly, in a very whispered voice, went, Zaki, I don't like jokes like that. I tell you, I've never been more scared in my life. He didn't say he's going to do anything. He didn't threaten me. He didn't warn me. But just the way he said, I don't like jokes like that. I promise you, I never made a joke like that with him ever again. I was so scared in that moment. Because if he gets up, then I can guarantee I'm not getting up again. I can guarantee in that moment, this guy's strength, it put fear into my heart. He didn't threaten me. This guy was one of the kindest people I've ever met. This was a guy who took care of me when I didn't know anybody in the city of Qum. I was a newbie there. I didn't know anyone. He looked after me. He took care of me. But in that moment, he showed his strength. He showed his power. If you don't have that strength, you won't be able to keep humiliation away from you. And that's exactly what that man did in that moment. That's exactly what my friend did. He didn't like that joke. Why? He found it a bit disrespectful. He felt like it crossed the boundary. He found it disrespectful. So what did he do? Very calmly, he said, I don't like that joke. He moved that disrespect away from him. He won't have that. Why? Because we are not people who can stand to be disrespected. Imam Hussein told us in Karbala on the day of Ashura, Hayhat min nadillah. Dishonor and disrespect, it can't reach us, it can't get near us, it can't touch us. That strength is so crucial, it's so key for us. And we see the strength of Amir al-Mu'mineen, both in his words, but also he did back it up. He also showed it in battle. The very first of the major battles of Islam was the Battle of Badr. The Muslims, you had our Holy Prophet, and with him he had 313 companions. 313 soldiers in the Battle of Badr, and remember that number, it's a crucial number. And I shouldn't need to say why, but I will. It's the number of companions that our Imam is waiting for. In the Battle of Badr, the very first major battle of Islam, the Prophet waited for his 313 companions. Here, our Imam is waiting for his 313 companions as well. Amongst those companions was Imam Ali alayhi salam. The way war used to happen in those days, it wasn't like today. It wasn't somebody sitting cowardly in a bunker, hiding away, firing missiles and rockets from miles away. It wasn't somebody who, the moment something gets difficult and dangerous, they flee their country, they rush off to Greece. No, in those days, war was fought by warriors. In those days, war was fought by those who were strong. And let's not shy about this fact. As much as we hate the enemies of Islam, as much as we hate them, in that time and in that day, you can't deny they were warriors. You can't deny they were strong. You can't deny who they were. You can't deny that they knew how to fight. They knew how to defeat their enemies. But in those days, warriors would fight. And the way the war would begin is that one soldier would come from each army and they would face each other one-on-one. And then the second would come. And then the third would come. In this Battle of Badr, when the armies of the Quraysh sent their men forward, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes forward as well. He stands in front of a man by the name of Talha. Talha, he squares up to Amir al-Mu'mineen, ready to fight him. And the army of the Quraysh, they're looking at this thinking, look, there's about 900 of us. There's 314 of them in total if you include the Prophet. This won't be an issue. This will be easy. We'll be home by dinner time. It won't be a problem. This battle won't last very long at all. And then they see, as this battle begins, Amir al-Mu'mineen standing in front of this man named Talha. They stand and they watch. And what happens is the person you send forward first is your strongest soldier. They set the tone for the battle. They're your strongest soldier. Usually they're a commander. And everybody stood there and watched. As Amir al-Mu'mineen, he draws his sword. He strikes it down. And what the narrations say, what the history books say, is that what Amir al-Mu'mineen did is he turned the eyes of Talha into liquid. Meaning what? He struck across the head of Talha in such a way that he broke the helmet that Talha was wearing. He broke the armor that was protecting his head and sliced straight through the eyes of Talha from one side to the other. Now the armies behind the Quraysh, they're looking and they're beginning to get a bit worried. But look, this is only one person so far. He was a brave warrior, he was a brave commander, but how many can Amir al-Mu'mineen take on himself? In this moment, the next fighter comes forward. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, he does something to show his strength. He uses his words here. He looks at the armies of the Quraysh and he looks at the fighter who comes in front of him. The reason the Quraysh have gone to war with the Muslims is what? Because they disagree with what the Muslims say about there being one Lord and about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the one true God. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he looks at the next fighter. Looks back to where Talha lies on the ground. Looks back at the fighter again. There's a smile on Amir al-Mu'mineen's face, but at the same time, there's a fire in his eyes as he looks at this man and he says to him, from tomorrow, you will never ever question me about my Lord again. And with that, Amir al-Mu'mineen draws his sword one more time. One more time, he sends another one of the enemies of Islam to hell. Again and again, he does it. To the point where it said that in the Battle of Badr, of the Qurayshi army, according to most of the reliable narrations, 90 of their soldiers were killed. But here's the deal. There were 900 soldiers in that army. The Muslims claimed victory in Badr, and it was a victory, a resounding victory. 90 soldiers were killed. Why did the army lose when they only lost 10% of their soldiers? Because when the army of the Quraysh saw how the armies of the Muslims were fighting, they saw those 90 get killed. The rest of those 800 looked at that and thought, you know what, this isn't my battle. This one isn't for me. The rest of them looked at that and thought, you know what, if that's what they've done to our first 90, the most brave that we had, imagine what they'll do to the rest of us. If that's what they've done to those guys, then I'm not stepping forward to fight. 90 were killed, 800 fled in that battle of Badr. Who was humiliated? You had 313 Muslims. They should have been crushed. They should have been destroyed. But who was humiliated then? It was the enemies of Islam. And we're told that in that battle of Badr, of those 90 that were killed by the army of 314, 20 of them were killed by Imam Ali alayhi salam alone. Imam Ali alayhi salam alone accounts for 20 out of those 90 deaths, when there is an army of 313 other soldiers with him. That's the strength of Amir al-Mu'mineen. But you see, this idea of dhillah, humiliation, nobody can bear it. If you've ever been in a position where you find yourself being disrespected, you'll know it hurts more than anything else. If you've ever been in a fight where you lost and you lost badly, it's not those wounds and those scars that hurt the most. No, it's the fact that you were that you were humiliated. It's the fact that you were disrespected. That's what gets you. And you see, that's what happens to the army of the Quraysh. After the Battle of Badr, they all fled, they all went back. And they decided, we can't have this. There were 313 of them, there were 900 of us. We can't take that disrespect, we can't take that humiliation, we have to go again. So 1 year later, they come back again, they march towards Medina. The armies of the Muslim, they leave from Mecca. They meet at a place called Uhud. Here we see the Battle of Uhud, and this is a very famous battle. It's a very famous battle. Why? Because the strategy of the Muslims was perfect, but the Muslims weren't able to follow it. Our Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he instructs a group of archers, the ones with bow and arrows. He says to them, you go and you stand on the slope behind this mountain of Uhud. And if the enemies of Islam, if the armies of the Quraysh try and attack us from behind, it's your job to protect the Muslims from there. If they try and come around the mountain and attack us from behind, your job is to protect us from there. So they stood there. And the Prophet said to them very clearly and very specifically, whether we are winning or we are losing, don't move from where you're standing. This is your position. Don't move, don't leave, don't go anywhere. Again, the commanders of the armies of the Quraysh step forward. The commander of the army of the Muslims, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he steps forward. Again, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he destroys the armies of the Quraysh. They go running, they go scattering, they go flying, they go fleeing. All of a sudden, it looks like the Muslims are winning and everything looks brilliant. Again, they've destroyed this army, but this time, it's not like Badr. It wasn't 900 who came to face the Muslims. This time, instead, it was a number well into the thousands that came. But Amir al-Mu'mineen, he sent them running as well. There comes a point though, where as the armies are running off, the armies of the Muslims see that we're starting to win. The enemy's starting to retreat, they're starting to run away. So what do the armies of the Muslims do? They decide, you know what? It looks like this war is done. It looks like the war's over. Let's go and grab the loot from this war. At the end of every war, what would happen is the things that were left in the battlefield, the people's belongings that they had left when they fled, or the things of those who had been killed, they became fair game for the army who wins. So if somebody dropped a sword or somebody dropped a shield, you could go and take that. If somebody had gold in their pocket, then you could go and take that. If somebody had dinars with them, then you could go and take that. So the armies of the Muslims, they saw this and they thought, right, this is our chance. Let's go get what's meant for us. They went and they started gathering their things. As they did this, those archers we mentioned at the start, for who the Holy Prophet said, what? whether we're winning or we're losing. Don't move from your position. They decided, look, everyone's going to get their things, we're going to go as well. So they rush down into the battlefield. They leave their post and they decide they're going to grab their loot as well. But as they do this, Khalid ibn Walid, who was the commander of the army of the Quraysh, he realizes and he sees the Muslims, they're distracted. They're all going for all of the gold. They're going for the shields. They're going for the swords. They're going for the dinars. They're going for all that loot. And not one of them is watching to take guard. So what does he do? He tells his soldiers, go around the back of the mountain, attack them from behind. And this is exactly what happens. The armies of the Quraysh, they attack from behind. As they attack from behind, the Muslims, they're panicked. They weren't expecting this attack. The Muslims, they start to rush between each other. Some of the Muslims fled, or in fact, many of the Muslims fled. Before they fled, many of the Muslims, within confusion between themselves, they started fighting amongst each other, not realizing who is part of our army, who is part of their army. They started fighting amongst each other. According to the narrations, every single one of the Muslims fled except for two. The first was the one who leads them into battle, our Holy Prophet. The second was the one who never leaves our Prophet's side, Amirul Mu'mineen. When all the Muslims began running, Amirul Mu'mineen did not leave. Amirul Mu'mineen stands by the Prophet's side. There comes a time within that battle where Khalid ibn Walid, he turns to his soldiers. He turns to a legion, a small army of 50 horse riders. And he says to them, charge at Rasulullah. They know that if they kill Rasulullah in this moment, then that's it, Islam's done. And the religion that they always believed in, they can believe in that without anyone contesting them. They decide that's the man we need to go for. So Khalid ibn Walid, he says to his horsemen, he says, charge at Rasulullah. Rasulullah, he sees them charging at him. So what does Rasulullah do? He turns to Amirul Mu'mineen. He says, Ali, charge at them. Now you have these 50 on their horses riding towards Rasulullah. You have Amirul Mu'mineen calmly walking towards them. As they walk towards Amirul Mu'mineen, he draws his Zulfiqar again. And we know what happens when Ali draws his sword. When Ali draws his sword, nobody can survive. Here now, they go to attack. Amirul Mu'mineen, he starts to attack them back. Now we see 50 horsemen. Amirul Mu'mineen, he killed 4 of them. According to some narrations, 5 of them. The rest of them did what? They fled. They fled, but what did they do? They fled and then they gathered and they retreated. They came back again. Amirul Mu'mineen, he charged again. But this time they didn't dare attack again. They realized, no, Ali, he doesn't seem to be getting tired. He doesn't seem to be getting fatigued. He doesn't seem to be getting scared. There's no way we can win this. You see, we see in that moment who Amirul Mu'mineen is. We see in that moment the strength of Imam Ali. How? Imam Ali alayhi salam, as he is charging at the enemy, making them flee, standing guard for the Holy Prophet, a voice is heard from the skies. A voice is heard from the heavens. Angel Jibreel has come down and a voice bellows through the world, through the skies in that battle of Uhud. And it says very clearly those famous words, La fata illa Ali, La sayfa illa Zulfiqar. There is no warrior like Ali. There is no sword like the Zulfiqar. Now we see Amirul Mu'mineen's true strength, his true power. La fata illa Ali, La sayfa illa Zulfiqar. You see, Amirul Mu'mineen in that moment, he showed that when Holy Prophet needed him, he was there and he was ready. When all of the Muslims deserted the Holy Prophet, Amirul Mu'mineen was there. He was not afraid. When everybody fled, Amirul Mu'mineen stayed. Amirul Mu'mineen showed in that moment. When the Prophet needs something, when the Prophet desires something, it is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires that same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet, for them, the most important thing is the religion of Islam. This religion that we have been blessed with, the greatest blessing that we have is the complete religion of Islam. In that moment when Islam needed Ali, Ali showed he was there. And the reality is, at every point in history, when Islam needed someone to come and save it, Amirul Mu'mineen was there. When Islam needed someone in Badr, Ali was there. When it needed someone in Uhud, Ali was there. When it needed someone in Siffin, Ali was there. When it needed someone in Khaybar, Ali was there. When it needed someone at Dawatul Ashira, Ali was there. When it needed somebody on the night of Hijrah, Ali was there. At every point, Ali was there. And you know what? When Amirul Mu'mineen wasn't there, then in Medina, Hassan Mujtaba was there. In Medina, Hassan Mujtaba was there. But when he was not, then in Karbala, Hussein ibn Ali was there. When Hussein ibn Ali was not there, then in Kufa and Sham, Ali ibn al-Hussein was there. When Ali ibn al-Hussein was not there, then in Medina again, Muhammad Baqir was there. Again and again and again we see, if it was not Ali, it was the children of Ali. But here's my point. In that battle of Uhud, that cry could have come, La Fata illa Ali, and that cry could have ended there. There is no soldier like Ali. Why? Why were we told in that moment, La Sayf illa Dhul Fiqar? There is no sword like the Dhul Fiqar. Why? Because we are being told that one day that Dhul Fiqar will return. The Ali's son will return. That same Ali who saved Islam then, one day his son will return. In his hands will be the Dhul Fiqar. And on that day, when Islam needs to be saved, Islam will look to the son of Ali to say, Ya Mawla, Ya Mahdi, Adrikni. Recite aloud, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala. And that's the moment we're waiting for. The moment where our Imam returns. The moment where our Imam gives us the chance to show our strength, to show what our strength looks like. When we have that firm belief which we spoke about yesterday, we have that strength which we spoke about today, then we march onwards to becoming those companions of our Imam, the ones that our Imam is waiting for. There were 313 in Badr. Our Imam is waiting for his 313 now. We're making ourselves those very same companions of the Imam. But one last story that shows the strength of Amirul Mu'mineen before I move on to Masai. You see, in the Battle of Khandaq, there is another narration that tells us the strength of our Imam. There was a great warrior who comes to fight our Imam. He comes to fight our Imam, and the description of this warrior, that he was as tall as you have seen before. He was as strong as you have seen before. He towered over men, and he has come to face Amirul Mu'mineen. He's come to face Amirul Mu'mineen, and the people are looking and they're thinking, we've seen Ali in battles before, but he's never faced someone like this. Will this be the time where finally Ali is defeated? They're looking and they're wondering, and this man attacks Amirul Mu'mineen. Amirul Mu'mineen defends himself. He doesn't attack back here. The man attacks again. Amirul Mu'mineen defends himself. He keeps trying and he keeps failing, to the point now where Amirul Mu'mineen decides, now I will show you what a true attack looks like. Now I will show you what a true warrior fights like. So what does he do? This great large beast of a human, he picks up this warrior and throws him to the ground. As Amirul Mu'mineen throws him to the ground, all those watching, they're amazed. How has Amirul Mu'mineen done this? But that's not the strength I'm talking about. Amirul Mu'mineen then climbs onto the chest of this man. He holds him down. All the people are looking, how is he holding him down? But that's not the strength I'm talking about. Amirul Mu'mineen draws his sword, and everybody knows when that Dhul Fiqar is drawn, what happens? None survive. Everyone's thinking, now this must be the end for that warrior, for that soldier. But that's not the strength I'm talking about. In that moment, dishonored, humiliated, disrespected, that soldier on the ground, he looks up at Amirul Mu'mineen, and out of his anger, what does he do? He spits towards the face of Imam Ali alayhi salam. As he spits towards the face of Amirul Mu'mineen, sword in his hand, he has this warrior pinned down. Everybody is watching. What does he do? He stands up. He turns around. He walks away. That soldier, perplexed, confused, he thought this was the final moment. That spit was my last act. How am I still alive? How have I still survived? So the question is asked of Amirul Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, why did you not kill him right there? You had him on the ground. You had him pinned down. Your sword was in your hand. That was his final moment. Why did you not kill him? Amirul Mu'mineen replies, everything I do for Allah. In that moment, he spat at me. When he spat at me, I became angry. If I killed him then, I would have killed him because he spat at me. I would have killed him because I was angry. You want to know true strength? True strength is when Amirul Mu'mineen, when he could have defeated that man right there in front of everyone, humiliated him in the worst way possible, Amirul Mu'mineen turns away. Why? Because this is not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's true strength. If you want to have true strength right now, the most important strength isn't the strength of your biceps. It's not the strength of your triceps. It's not the strength of your body. No, that matters. Make sure you're strong. Make sure you're fit. Make sure you're healthy. The greatest strength is the strength of your mind, the strength of your will, the ability to say no. I know this is wrong. I want to do it. I know it's wrong. Can I say no? If I can, then I have strength of will. I have strength of mind. My friends are all telling me to go somewhere I really shouldn't, but everyone's going. Everyone's going to be there. Should I still go there? If you can say no in that moment, that's strength of character, that's strength of will. That moment where you have to make a difficult choice. If you can say no in that moment, that's strength of character. That's the strength that keeps humiliation far from you. That's the strength that keeps dishonor far from you. And look at how it comes true. Amirul Mu'mineen had a man spit in his face. Surely that's disrespect. Surely that's dishonor. But today we remember that same moment and look at it as the strength of Imam Ali. That same moment we look at it as the brilliance of Imam Ali. Even when a man spat in the face of Amirul Mu'mineen, he couldn't disrespect him in that moment. That is the meaning of hayhat min nadillah. That is the meaning of humiliation will always be far from me. And that is the point we try to reach. Recite aloud, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali. Keeping an eye on time, I'm going to rush towards Masaib. You see, tonight we are remembering that man who showed true strength. That man who in Karbala showed strength unlike any of those who were surrounding him on the 9th of Muharram. The night of 9th of Muharram, there's a great commander, a warrior in the armies of Yazid who everyone reveres and everyone looks up to. That man is none other than Hazrat Hur. Hazrat Hur, everyone's watching him and they're seeing there's something different about him today. There's something about him that is not quite right. He's walking around, he's lost in thought. It seems as though something is distracting Hazrat Hur. And you'll note there is no member of the army of Yazid for who we use the word Hazrat. No member of the army of Yazid for who we use the words alayhi salam. Because the reality is, no matter what Hazrat Hur did until the 9th of Muharram, what he did on that one night, it changed his destiny forever. Hazrat Hur alayhi salam, he sat in his tent. He sat in his tent, and in the armies of Yazid, in the camps of Yazid's army, dinner has been set. But the soldiers, they're waiting. When our commander comes, then we will eat. When Hazrat Hur comes, then we will eat with him. When he begins, then we will begin. So they're waiting and waiting. The servant of Hazrat Hur, he goes to the tent of Hazrat Hur, he says, Mawla, my master, food is ready, everyone is waiting, please come. He goes back. Hazrat Hur doesn't come. He comes back again. My master, Mawla, everybody's waiting. Will you not come to eat? Hazrat Hur again, he says, go, I'll come. Now the son of Hazrat Hur, he approaches. Ali ibn Hurr al-Riyahi. He comes forward, comes into his father's tent and he says, my father, everybody is waiting. Are you not going to come and eat? Hazrat Hur, he turns to his son. He says, Ali, tell me, can you hear what I hear? Ali goes silent for a moment. He asks his father, Father, tell me, what is it that you're talking of? There's so many things I can hear. He says, listen carefully. Listen across the battlefield, what can you hear? Ali ibn Hurr, he looks at his father, he says, Father, I can hear it too. I know what you are talking of. What is he saying? What are they talking about? Hazrat Hur and his son Ali, what are they hearing? They're hearing the children of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein call out, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, the thirst, my father, my Mawla, my master, we cannot hack the thirst, we cannot take the thirst. In that moment, Hur turns to his son, he says, Ali, tell me, the children of Hussein, they are thirsty, they are hungry. The daughters of Zahra, they are thirsty, they are hungry. And you are telling me to come and eat. How can I go and eat with these soldiers? Now, Hazrat Hur, he emerges from his tent, but he doesn't go to eat. He goes and he stands at the edge of the battlefield. He looks towards the camps of Imam Hussein. He looks back towards the camps of his own armies. He goes to Umar Sa'ad and he says to him, tell me, will there really be a war? Will we really go to battle tomorrow? Umar ibn Sa'ad, he responds, he says, tomorrow there will be a battle unlike any battle this world has ever seen. Tomorrow what will happen will not be a battle, it will be a massacre. Here, Hur has heard enough. He has heard all he needed to hear. In that moment, Hazrat Hur, he goes and he stands back at the edge of the battlefield. Again, he looks out. His son comes to him again. He says to him, my father, tell me, what is it you are looking at? Hazrat Hur, he looks to his son. He says, I am looking out over this battlefield, and I am looking out over Jannah and Jahannam, over heaven and hell. And Hazrat Hur, he cannot choose hell, he cannot choose humiliation. In that moment he goes, he begins gathering his things. His son comes and sees him. He says, my father, what are you doing? Hazrat Hur says, I am going towards the armies of Imam Hussein. I will not stay here any longer. Ali ibn Hur, he says, my father, will you leave without me? Will you go towards heaven without your son? Hazrat Hur, he tells his son, gather your things, we will go together. They do, and they begin riding towards the tent of Imam Hussein. But before they get there, Hazrat Hur returns to his son Ali. He says to him, Ali, do me a favor, do one thing for your father. Ali asks his father, tell me, what can I do for you? Hazrat Hur, he pulls 2 pieces of cloth from his pocket. He says to his son Ali, take this cloth, tie around my hands. I do not want my hands to be free when I go to meet my Mawla. Ali asks him, my father, tell me, why do you not want your hands to be free? Hazrat Hur says, when our army met with the army of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Imam Hussein wished to carry on moving. I grabbed the reins of Zuljana and I yanked them towards me. I don't want my hands to be free. The hands that did that, they could not be free when I reach Hussein. And then Hazrat Hur, he turns to his son Ali. He hands him the second cloth. He says, tie this around my eyes, blindfold me so I cannot see. His son says to him, my father, why do you wish to be blindfolded? He says, in that moment I looked into the eyes of Hussein with anger in my eyes. I could not bear to go and look at Hussein again until Hussein forgives me. Do not free these hands. Do not open this blindfold. Hazrat Hur on his horse, his hands blindfolded, his hands tied, his eyes blindfolded. He rides towards the tents of Abu Abdullah. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he sees that there is somebody approaching them from afar. He turns to his most trusted companions, his most trusted family members. He turned to Abbas and Akbar. He says, Abbas, Akbar, our guests are arriving. Go greet them, go bring them towards us. They go out to greet Hazrat Hur. Hazrat Ali Akbar takes Hazrat Hur in his arms, he holds him close. They reach Mawla Hussein. The day of Ashura arrives. On that day, Hazrat Hur comes to Imam Hussein. He says, my Mawla, will you let me go and give my life? Imam Hussein, in that moment, he says, Hur, how can I let you go? You have been my guest here in these tents, but I did not take care of you the way a host takes care of his guest. Hur, I did not give you anything to eat. I did not give you anything to drink. The heart of Hur erupts. He cries out, my Mawla, it is because of me that you have no water, because of me that you have no food. How can you be so gracious to a lowly servant? Mawla, let me go to battle. Imam Hussein gives permission, but Hazrat Hur, before he goes to battle, he does not want to run the risk that after he gives his life, his son Ali will become afraid. So Hazrat Hur, he says to his son Ali, before I go to the battlefield, you go and give your life. Let me see you sacrifice yourself for Hussein, and then Hur will go and give his life. Now the time comes. Ali ibn Hur al-Riyahi, he marches out to the battlefield. He greets those soldiers with whom he once stood. He begins fighting his battle. But the time comes where Ali Ali falls from his horse. He calls out to his father for help. He calls out, Adrikni. In that moment, Hazrat Hur goes rushing out to the sounds of his son's voice. He wishes to help his son, but what happens when he gets to where his son is calling him from? As Hur arrives at the body of Ali al-Riyahi, he looks down and what does he see? There is a man holding his son already. Who was it? It was none other than Hussein ibn Ali. Hur says to him, my Mawla, I am a lowly servant. Why have you come out for my son? Hussein looks at Hur. Hussein looks at Hur and he says, Hur, go back to the tents. This is not the strength of a father's heart that he carry the body of his own son. Imam Hussein in that moment, he lifts up the body of Ali and Hur. He carries him back to the tents. But just a few hours later, Hussein will be calling out, somebody come to me. Oh children of Banu Hashim. Oh you who lie on the sands of Karbala. Somebody come and help Hussein, for I could not carry the body of my Akbar. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. We raise our hands in dua and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal, oh Allah, for all those mu'mineen around the world struggling with ill health, grant them complete shifa. Oh Allah, for all those mu'mineen who have left this world, raise their ranks in Jannah. Oh Allah, for all those around the world struggling under oppression, grant them freedom from their oppressors. Oh Allah, accept all our ibadat in this holy month of Muharram al-Haram. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to enter Jannah under his banner. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع الدعاء.